Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is how to conquer analysis paralysis. When it comes to real estate investing, hesitation can be your biggest enemy. Analysis paralysis creeps in when you're overthinking every detail, and before you know it, opportunities are slipping through your fingers. The truth? No deal is ever 100%. But every deal is a chance to learn, grow, and profit. So let's break free from the chains of overthinking. Here are 5 ways to conquer analysis paralysis and start taking action like the badass investor you are. Number 1, set a deadline for decisions. Give yourself a firm timeline to analyze a deal and make a decision. Whether it's 48 hours or a week, sticking to a deadline will keep you moving forward instead of spinning your wheels. Number 2, focus on one strategy. Don't try to master everything at once. Pick one niche, flipping, rentals, or buy and holds, and then deep dive. Mastery in one area builds confidence and momentum. Number 3, trust the numbers, not your emotions. Emotions can cloud judgment, but the math doesn't lie. Stick to your criteria, run the numbers, and if they work, take action. Number 4, start small and build confidence. Your first deal doesn't need to be a grand slam. A smaller, manageable deal can teach you the ropes without overwhelming you. Number 5, find an accountability partner. Whether it's a mentor, a mastermind group, or fellow investor, having someone to push you and hold you accountable can make all the difference in overcoming hesitation. So stop letting fear and doubt hold you back. Every badass investor started somewhere, and the only way to grow is by taking that first step. Remember, action beats perfection every time. Get out there, make the leap, and start building your real estate empire today. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Jessie Lang, a powerhouse in the real estate world who has mastered the art of building and managing long-term rental portfolios. Jessie owns and manages over 75 long-term rentals in and around Columbus, Ohio. And she's passionate about teaching others how to achieve financial freedom through real estate. Her journey began over a decade ago with a single house hack, and in just the last 36 months, she has skyrocketed from 11 doors to a thriving portfolio of 75 doors and counting. When she's not managing rentals or coaching others, Jessie spends time traveling with her wife, Laura, spoiling her 5 pets, and diving into DIY house projects and gardening. It's an honor to have her on the show, so welcome, Jessie Lang. Welcome.
Thank you. That was probably the best welcome I've ever had on a podcast.
We have way too much in common, including the same chair. Show everyone our chairs.
There we go.
We both took the headrest off, but I mean, from traveling, I am also a pet parent. I have 4 pets though, so I got to hear about your pets, and I do love to travel. So, and garden, by the way, until my back gives out, because, you know, that always happens to me. But Jessie, I feel like we are going to be fast friends, and it's an honor to have you here today. Also because it's my 250th episode and what a perfect person to have on the show. So thank you so much for being here.
So
Let's dive in. Yes, absolutely. So let's dive in. Your story is very inspiring. So let's start at the beginning. How did house hacking kickstart your real estate investment journey?
yes, this is a great question. And I think one that probably a lot of people can relate to because I absolutely did not set out to become a landlord, a housing provider, anything like that. I did not even know that real estate investor was a career. So it was never my intention, but through a series of events that happened. So I grew up in Austin, Texas, went to college at University of Texas with Lawrence, and I did what society says, right? You got to graduate college, you get married, you get a job, you buy a house, you have kids. And I did not do all of them, but I did end up buying a little condo down in Austin. It was $92,000. And I put down literally $3,000 life savings that I had as my, FHA, 3.5% down, closing costs, all that. Got into this condo. It had shag carpet, grandma curtains, yellow countertops. Like it really had it all. But over the few years that I was living there, I was fixing it up, DIY, which I really enjoy, and I could afford the mortgage on paper. Obviously, I got the mortgage, but it just wasn't the life that I wanted to live, like being house poor. So I got smart and I got some roommates and I just was renting out the extra rooms in my condo, getting all my, the mortgage paid. I paid some of the bills and that was about it. And was saving a good amount and had my W-2 job. Couple years go by like this, everything's great. And then my partner and I at the time, we split and he was one of the roommates. And so all of a sudden, I knew that I didn't want to live there emotionally. It was just a little too tough. I knew that it would be crazy to sell it because it was Austin and 2012, 2014 range.
Oof.
Yeah. And I knew that I couldn't just have a house and pay a mortgage and rent. So in the span of 2 weeks, I went from living my normal everyday life to being moved out and having four college boys renting out my condo that I had put my blood, sweat, and tears into. And this process, I was making it all up. Like I said, I didn't have anyone to turn to. I did not even know one person who owned the property outside of their own home. And so 2 weeks, I got it rented and leased and had these leases and was moved out. And I mean, kind of started my journey right there.
Wow, what a great story. What was your major? I'm just curious.
Business administration.
And what was your W-2?
I was project management. So it applied. It applied. And
Very
actually,
good.
I was working. I don't know if I've ever shared this with anyone on a podcast, but I was working at a flooring store, which is so random. It's so random. And I was like the front desk kind of girl, but I had experience doing like takeoffs and looking at blueprints and like picking out materials. And I had no idea that this like, kind of whatever job that I found on Craigslist of all things would end up having like it applied to what I'm doing today.
That is so cool. I actually
Yeah.
have a friend who is an investor who just bought a flooring store. And I think we're one of his first clients because there's a lot of issues with the financing and stuff in it. But yeah, what a great story. I love that. So, scaling from 11 doors to 75 ish and counting, that is incredible. So, what type of mindset shifts did that take to have you achieve that growth?
Yeah. So great question. And I will start by saying, so I had my one long-term rental. I actually did this twice more, still down in
Okay.
Austin. So I would buy a property and then get roommates where I was living and rent out. I did this 3 times. So I had my own roommates plus two long-term rentals, and it afforded me the option to go and travel the world for a year. Yeah, it was amazing. I met my amazing wife. I met the job that brought us to Columbus, Ohio. And so that was on 3 properties. 3.
Wow.
And yeah, and that was 2016. So 2016 finishes. I didn't want to move back to Austin. She didn't want to move back to New York City. So I got a job here. I got a job in Columbus of all places. It's like on paper it's so random. It's actually an amazing city. We have a great
Oh,
community.
yeah.
Yeah, Columbus is great, but I'm a little Texas girl. Like I joke I didn't even know where Ohio was on a map. And I'm like, sure, I'll move to Columbus, Ohio. And that was actually 8 years ago, which is
Wow.
crazy to say.
All right. So, what were the actual mindset shifts that made you just scale so quickly within those 3 years?
So there's still more. There's still more to the story before I get to my mindset
Oh,
shift. And
gotcha. Sorry.
no, you're fine. I was not even thinking of myself as a real estate investor. I had 3 rentals, enough to go travel the world for a year. And it still didn't even occur to me that this could be a job. And so I got here to Columbus. I was working at W2. It was also in project management. And I was going to all these real estate meetups because I knew deep inside, but I just didn't know anyone doing it or the path or anything like that. So I was going to my local RIA meetups. I was paying for some education. And I finally, 18 months into living here in Columbus, I got the courage to go full-time real estate. I was going to be a wholesaler and I was, I was going to do it all. And it took me from quitting August 2018, it took me 6 months to even make a penny. It,
Oh,
it was painful. It
yes.
was definitely painful, but once I got that first deal under my belt, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it was $5,000. It felt like all the money in the world. I proved I could do it and I was off to the races. So for the next couple of years, like for 2 full years, I was wholesaling everything. I was not keeping any of my own deals because I had no idea how people were buying these. And I probably should have asked my buyers sooner, but it took me a while to be like, how are y'all buying these? Like, do you I just thought they had cash. And they don't. It was not cash. It was hard money. It was private money. And so I didn't really understand that part of real estate investing. So you're asking about the mindset shift. And it was not until January of 2021. I started back in 2012. So we're talking a decade of
Wow.
me buying with the FHA. I bought, while I was wholesaling, I was still buying, but it was conventional. I was buying other people's deals. I was buying off the MLS. I wasn't buying my own because I'm like, I need 4 to 6 weeks to close. How are y'all closing these in 2 weeks? And so I was still buying. I got up to 11 doors, but I say that they were all the wrong way. 20% down, doing the wrong renovations. House hacking's great, but it's so slow. You can do one a year. Like I just didn't figure it out. So that mindset shift was January 2021. I got really serious about the BRRRR method and buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. This was, 4 years ago at this point, and people are saying BRRRR is dead. And I will tell you, it's absolutely not dead. It still works. There's fewer of them, and you may have to expand your market where you're looking a little bit, but there are BRRRRs for sure because we're still buying them. And so that was the mindset shift is like I finally figured out how to pay for them and how to do the right renovation so I'm not stuck in this terrible maintenance nightmare once they get rented out.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm shocked that people say that it's dead because, like, right now, I'm not going to take on another flip project for a while because we're just having trouble selling one of our properties. We're doing a new build right now. I'm getting nervous about listing that one. All I want to put my focus on is the BRRRR method, actually, because we don't have a lot of capital to put down and buy the wrong way like you did your first 11. And so I saw you come through my emails and I said, oh, I definitely need her because it's been a while since we've done a BRRRR. Goodness, it's probably been about 4 or 5 years, but I think it's a great concept. You have to make sure you're buying them right. So you mentioned the 5-hour rule you follow for each deal. Can you break that down for us? And how does it keep you efficient and focused?
Yes. So we aim to spend 5 hours of my own time per BRRRR cycle. And that is everything through buying, renovating, renting, refinance, repeat. Now, I have a small team. And when I say small, it's me and one full-time employee, a handyman, and a GC. That's the team. So you don't have to have this, if you're sitting there thinking, well, Jesse, I could never do that. For a long time, I was doing every single thing myself. I was very like DIY mindset. In the beginning, when you're building your team, when you're getting your processes, it's obviously going to take more than 5 hours of your time. That I think you would be doing yourself a disservice if that's all you spent. But once you have the team, the systems, the people in place, you can really take yourself out of a lot of the day to day. And it's because I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and over. I'm buying in the same neighborhoods, buying the same type of properties. I know how much they're worth. I know what they will be worth. I know the building style and the, renovation cost. I'm using the same GC. I'm using
Same
the same
finishes, because I did see one of your posts where you use the white subway tile. So it's this. It's excellent. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. Yeah. Same renovation over and over and over. Now, there may be some minor differences, like this one has a sunroom and this one, is on a slab, and we'll adjust there. But for overall, it's the same thing over and over. And so everyone knows on my team what to expect. And that really cuts down on decision making. It cuts down. Decision fatigue is a real thing. All of these decisions wearing you out can be overwhelming to entrepreneurs. So I try to cut out all of that.
Decision fatigue. I'm writing this down because I've never even heard it called that. And I'm literally knee deep in decision fatigue right now. We're doing a new build and just picking out paint colors because it's a much higher price point that we normally do. And so it is definitely, I want to take a nap. I hear you on that. So well, 5 hours. What do the 5 hours entail? Let's get back. I was still picking up my jaw from that. So what are the 5 hours that you spend on each of these deals?
So I actually just did a full breakdown of this on our Facebook group and our YouTube channel. If we can link that in the show notes, then yeah, that would be a great resource. But a summary high level is I do spend about 2 hours on the buy, and that's because I'm still underwriting all of my own deals. That's something I could outsource, but I enjoy it and I'm good at it and I can do it pretty quick. So I underwrite the deals. I get the lending set up. I use the same private money lenders, same hard money lenders. Like I'm not reinventing the wheel by any means. Then I sign. So that's half an hour, if that. So I have about 2 hours on the buy. I have 30 minutes, I'll say an hour on the renovation. And it's reviewing the scope when it comes in for my GC. I don't even walk the property. He walks it. He knows we've done probably our last 45 projects together. So he knows exactly what I'm doing. Sometimes he'll text me a question and then 10 minutes later be like, don't even answer. I already know the answer. And then he'll it's like, I moved on. I got it. And so he'll just answer it for me. And it's always 99% of the time is what I would have done. And so the only hour I spend is I do attend the final punch list walkthrough. That's it. That's it.
Wow.
I do one walkthrough.
Oh my gosh, Jessie, what a great model for listeners. And I want to take a quick little side note here because you do have a new book that just came out 2 months ago on Amazon, and it's right behind, it's over your right shoulder there. Oh, there's a better one. But Rentals Made Easy. I know how hard it is to write a book and get that out there. So congratulations, first of all, for that. It looks fantastic too.
Thank you. It's a how-to. I mean, it's a real step-by-step. Like this is not fluff. It's exactly everything we're talking about here today, written out, book form, step by step.
All right. So can you please finish these 5 hours here? Let's break it down really quick. You find the properties, you do what is
underwriting.
The word? Underwriting. Thank you. Then your contractor's walking it, gives you the scope of work, and then you do the punch list at the very end. How else do you spend your 5 hours?
So that's up through renovate, and then rent. I have half an hour of my own time, and that is to approve the final, we call applicant scorecard, because Selena on my team, she is doing all of the legwork between marketing, answering inquiries, because there's always a million, screenings, showings, full approvals with the background checks and credit scores and all that. So she's handling all that. She puts it into a one pager that I review, ask some follow-up questions if I notice any red flags, but ultimately that is half an hour of my time to work with her to get it rented. She's signing leases, she's collecting deposits, she's doing all that. Then we get into the refi. I have about an hour of my time there. I use the same lenders. Sometimes I try to shop around, but it's a DSCR. And I try to shop, but I just haven't been able to beat this specific lender for like 2 years now.
Wow.
So just keep coming back. And I have a little bit of my time on the signing. Signer comes to my house, I sign it, she leaves. We have home office. And then that's half an hour. And then on the repeat, I think this step is so often overlooked, but we do look at any lessons learned. We look at, strategy, if we need to shift anything for the next one. We do our bookkeeping and get everything back kind of balanced out, get our HUDs over to our accountant, all that. But a lot of that's outsourced too. So I probably have half an hour there. And so that's how I'm able to do, like, we just did 6 refinances at the same time. And it's because very little of my time goes into each of these deals.
So the refinancing aspect of it, because when I was burring 3, 4, 5 years ago, you were doing conventional loans, and now we have the DSCR loan, as you mentioned. And so how is that different from, because there's different rules for DSCR loans. I keep running into the issue of rural properties, but now even my other lenders are, because the banks are tightening up these days. So how has it changed over 3 or 4, 5 years, the BRRRR strategy back then to what we're doing now?
So I would say the biggest change overall is it's not necessarily with like for us at least, it's not necessarily like the refinance process. Cause I was using conventional portfolio loans.
Mm-hmm.
I've maxed those out. You get 10, that was a long time ago. So maxed all those out. The biggest thing that I'm seeing is really cash flow because rates are higher. We did just close the DSCR, like or a handful of them at 6.5, which is quite good. And today's, a year ago was closing at 8%. And so that's significant difference on cash flow.
Right.
But the numbers just don't pencil like they used to when rates were 4 or 5%. They just don't. So there's fewer deals that would work for a BRRRR. If your goal is cash flow, which I'll just be honest, my goal with all of our acquisitions is long-term appreciation. It's wealth building. I'm taking out a loan. I'm letting someone else pay it off. So that is the first goal, but obviously they do need to cash flow. It doesn't make sense. I'm not a charity, right? We have to make money. And so, the biggest difference I think is on the cash flow and just the amount of deals that maybe don't meet your specific buy box on that.
Well said. And do you have a specific number that you aim to cash flow on eeach property or each door, we'll say?
So each door we underwrite at 200.
Okay.
This is down from 300.
Yep.
I will say if that, like, prior to rates going crazy, and I will say if there's a deal, I have purchased things that are closer to 100, and we maybe have another house on the same street, or just the location is something, or it's super easy maintenance. Like, it's maybe a newer property where I'm not going to have a lot of CapEx, so I can underwrite like that. Few and far between, but we'll go a little bit lower also.
Yeah. And you have to, and it is a long-term gain. So I am appreciative that you said that as well. So we talked about the DSCR loan and then doing conventional loans in the past, but there's also creative financing is super hot right now. And it's a game changer for scaling quickly. So can you share some of the strategies you've used to stack deals without draining your savings?
Yeah. So seller finance is a great strategy. It's something that, I've probably only done a handful of times. It's been successful anytime that we have, but my best personal strategy for having little to no money in the deal is private money. Just
Right.
raising money from an individual, a family, family member, a friend, and other investors, where I can finance 100% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab, pay the lender their interest at the time of refi. And if I underwrite correctly, I have no money in the deal, not only at the purchase, throughout the project, or at the refi. And so I own a property with, the DSCR lender is going to give you 75% of that new value. So if I force the value enough through renovations, through market rate rent, then I am going to be able to pull out enough money to pay back that private lender. And I have 25% equity in the property with none of my own money. So that's my strategy. I think seller finance is fantastic, but my problem on seller finance is we're typically buying distressed assets. They're quite distressed. So if I'm getting, say it's $100,000, but even if the seller will finance 100%, and they don't get a penny at closing, and they finance 100% of the purchase price, I still have to come out of pocket for that renovation.
Right.
So then I'm going to go refinance it in 3 months anyways. And so it's a good way to kind of save some cost. But for us specifically with the type of property I buy, it's not really a long-term strategy because that renovation cost out of my pocket would just be tied up in the property.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing all that. And I want to kind of back it up a little bit for the listeners. And in case you've never heard of the BRRRR strategy, a perfect scenario is getting a distressed property. Say you buy it for 100,000, you put 50,000 into it, and then it appraises later for 250 to 300,000. And then you're renovating it using the renovation money, and then you are putting a renter in there. So what that is doing is now, even though you are forcing appreciation on the property itself, and it appraises for 250, 300, you can then refinance up to, like you said, 75% of that ARV and then pay that person off completely. But also what a lot of people miss is because if it's a balloon payment at the end, if you're using a private money lender, as you said, you are renting it for, say, maybe 6 months. That was the number for a long time with lenders, is they had to see at least 6 months of, what is the word? Seasoning. Thank you. You had to show 6 months of seasoning, meaning there's a paying renter in there. Now there's so many lenders that will just do it on day one. Sometimes you don't even need to do the rental part of the BRRRR, but for the listeners out there, that is also a way to grow a little bit of cash because, again, you're not paying interest until the balloon payment at the end. So then you can have that money if you do need to bring money to closing. But the whole goal is to be able to force that appreciation so much that you can even walk away from the closing table with money in your pocket. So that's happened to us twice, actually. So coming away with money. I have a friend who he got a check for 97 cents, by the way. He's like, I'm still in the green. So 97 cents was the difference. I thought that was hilarious. But I just wanted to take a quick little backup there because we kind of dove in. So with all of that said, what are some common mistakes that you see new investors make that are maybe trying to do the BRRRR strategy, and how can they avoid falling into those traps?
Yes. So the first one is, I think a lot of people can relate to, and it's even the fear to get started. The mistake you're making is not doing it because
it's the analysis paralysis, like I was
Yeah.
saying in my badassery bestowment. Exactly. Yes.
You're so afraid of future mistakes that your biggest mistake is actually just not doing anything. And I see that more often than not. And so once you get past that and you do get started, then a lot of the mistakes I see are you're not doing the right resident screening. You're just, putting someone in, like, do you have a pulse? Move on in. You're doing too much. Yeah. You're doing way too much on the renovation, like falling for HGTV trap. And it is a trap. You don't have to do that. We're doing clean, safe, affordable housing. That is the name of the game on long-term rentals. And so, if the property has wood paneling and it's in good condition, paint it. That's all you got to do. We have one that I have a reel about that I got a lot of love on because there was these like crazy like brick tiles in the kitchen, and You could take it down, you could demo the whole thing, you could do the insulation, do the drywall, do everything behind it, or you could paint the brick. And it looked great. And so I think people often are you're just doing way too much.
I'm curious, do you put dishwashers in your rentals?
We do.
Okay, so I don't even put dishwashers in my rentals because I look at it as, oh, that's just one more thing for them to break, and the fact that there's water. I don't do ice makers either because of it's all about the water for me, and breaking water lines because water can be so damaging. So
Yeah, not wrong.
what on that same topic, because I did quickly watch one of your reels about the design stuff that you put into these, and you use the same ones over and over again. I mean, why fix it if it ain't broke, So
Right.
what are some typical ones? I mentioned before, you said subway tiles for backsplashes, but what are some standard things that you put in your rentals?
Yeah, so I think that there are some upgrades that we do, and it's kind of like best of both worlds because they look really nice to a renter, but it's also there to what we call harden the property. So do I have to install a backsplash? No, I don't. And it costs $500-600 depending on size of the kitchen. But we do it because it's preventing damage to that drywall. It also looks really good. And so the property appears more desirable. We are doing LVT throughout. We do LVT. I don't do any carpet. I don't have a single property with carpet in it. It's disgusting. You're going to replace it every time. Even the cleanest people, maybe you can get one turn out of it with a deep clean, but we just LVT everywhere. And it looks better. And
I
so
agree.
so that's kind of one of those win-wins. What else do we do? If we have a window in the shower, then we'll do subway tile there. If there is no window, then we do a nice tub surround. So those are really
Yes,
the big
easy,
ones.
easy.
Yeah, big ones. We do digital keypads that cost a little bit more, like a access code, and we change out the bottom lock so it doesn't have a lock on it. So basically, we can't be locked out of the property.
Ooh, I like that. I do those for my short-term rentals. And yes, you put a dummy lock on the bottom because so many people are quick to push that button as they're walking out, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have a key to get back in there." So, yes, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people forget that part. They're like, "Oh, I have a programmable lock," but how are they locked out? So, well said on that. So, going back to your transition and all of this, and when were you able to quit your full-time job? Because my avatar, the people who listen to this podcast, they're driving to work, they are like
Mhm.
cursing the traffic, and they don't want to sit in the cubicle another day. So how were you able to quit your full-time job?
So I am a huge advocate. Even if you want to invest in rentals long term, you still need some sort of passive income. I mean, I'm sorry, active income. Like
Yes.
the real rentals are passive, active, passive, but you need active income. So if it's not your W-2, the question you need to ask yourself is, what am I going to do? Because the answer is not buy rentals and move off and live on the beach and the sunset. That's just not how it's going to work. So are you going to be a real estate agent? Are you going to wholesale? That was mine, was wholesaling. Are you going to become, like some of your guests, I know Tommy was on, you talked about, he started as an appraiser. I'm sorry,
Yes.
as an inspector. And as an inspector, he was meeting everyone. So are you what are you going to do within real estate that's still active income?
Very well said. Yes, his dad was an inspector as well, so that's where he got his start. We're talking about Tommy Harsh. Shout out to our friend Tommy to
Hey,
bring that
Tommy.
up. Hey, so what do you have? Like, do you have a piece of advice for someone who is maybe just starting into investing and they're listening to this saying, "I really want to check out the Burr strategy." Do you have any specific advice for them?
Yes, is that there's a lot of moving parts, right? We're financing it, we're renovating it, we're financing it again long term, a lot of moving parts. So, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, I would just find someone who has done this method and can get you ahead of a lot of those mistakes and know what red flags to look out for in every step of the process. This is what I teach people. So I've been teaching the Burr method for the last 3 years. It has really been awesome. We've had crazy student success. That said, though, it doesn't have to be mastermind, anything like that, you can find a buddy, find someone through your local RIA. But for me, I got my start in paid education. Like I couldn't have been a wholesaler without paid education. So I'm a huge advocate of kind of put your money where your mouth is. And like if we're gonna do this, let's do it right. And I'm committed.
I agree with paid education. Do you want to give a shout out to the program that you?
Yeah. So just like the book, it is also called Rentals Made Easy, and it takes everything you learn here and puts it in a hands-on approach. So you're working directly with me, and I'm helping you basically get your business off the ground. Or if you already have rentals, tighten up your processes, tighten up, because again, I've made every single mistake you can imagine. And so the goal with the coaching is to get people ahead of all of those and really condense the timeline. What took me 10, 12 years, you guys get it done in a matter of months.
I love that. Yes, we are promoting your coaching program here because I do absolutely love everything that you are saying, and you have just a great persona about it as well. Because there's some boys in this industry that are like, do this and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, and you are fabulous. But I was asking more so, what was the program you did? Because I paid a ton of money. That's okay. I paid a ton of money for my education program, and I think I'm successful because I made that investment in me. And we absolutely, you should have people investing in this program. And I agree 1,000%. But I was just curious who you learned from.
From Vina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did her wholesale academy. It was like $1,000, which at the time felt like all the money in the world.
Vina Cox, what is it?
Jones Cox.
Jones Cox, yes. She does all the RIA circuit across the country. Very cool. She is a total badass, that lady right there. So
oh yeah, so impressive.
And now here you are giving that back to other people. Because I do feel like in this industry, when I first started, maybe Jessie, you felt the same way. You think it's going to be so cutthroat. There's only 10 properties out there and everybody's going to be after those 10. No, it's not that way at all. And then once you start getting that passive income, you hit your 75 doors and counting, you are able to turn around and give that back. And which you are doing with your program, which is Rentals Made Easy. And how do people find your program?
Yeah. So the best way would be through our free Facebook group where I do tons of weekly trainings. I do a live stream. We need to have you on for sure.
Woo, and then live.
You can do it.
My ADD. I'm so glad I'm able to edit things, but I'm sorry. Keep going.
You can do it. I'll keep you right on track. So yeah, the Facebook group is a great resource. We give away a lot of freebies. We have polls and really just any questions you have about real estate in general, I'm more than happy to answer. So we can link that in the show notes and would love to have you in the Facebook group. From there, we can get you on the mailing list. And if you're interested in some more like hands-on coaching, working with me directly, then we can get you that information.
And I bet you are such a great coach. And how do people find your book?
We're on Amazon. So self-published on Amazon. It is on Kindle or it is a paperback. I have been asked many times to do an audiobook. So we're seeing what all goes into that. So maybe an audiobook at some point.
I recorded mine in an audiobook. I'm like, come on, I got the whole setup. I need to do this. It took forever just to
ask you about it.
Little tweaking of numbers and thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, but I did it. And yes, there are the people who just don't read books anymore, but I can't wait to get my hands on that book. This has been amazing. And I am super proud of you being a female badass in this industry and doing what you do. And you're so easy. You're so easily approachable. And, you know, we have many mutual friends, which is why I'm like, why are we not best friends? So
we are now.
We are, absolutely. All right. So Jessie, we are going to move to the second part of the podcast, which is what makes you a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
So this is a book that I actually just finished, and it is called Die with Zero. And so the goal here and the message is that as a society, we are spending way too much time accumulating money and not enough time accumulating experiences when it matters, because we're saving for this future date that A, may never happen, and B, like, am I going to go skiing in the Alps when I'm 70 years old? Of course not. Like, that's something I need to be doing now. And so it's a really, really good message about prioritizing experiences today, and that the rest of it will take care of itself. I mean, there's some strategies behind it, but that we say too much, we end up dying with all this accumulation of wealth just to pass it down to someone else. And really, what's the fun of that?
And by the way, that leads me to totally getting off topic here. You have 5 pets.
Yes, we have our own 5. It's 2 cats, 3 dogs, and then we also have 2 foster cats right now.
Oh my goodness, that is fabulous. We have an older dog and whose name is Kevin. And I'm like,
Oh,
I know, and he's getting up there in age, but I'm always like, all right, what are we getting next? He's like, can you wait for Kevin to die first, please? So
we have
awful.
our puppy. He's 2, and then the old one's 15, and we're like, we won't have them together. It'll be 2 dogs, 3 for a little bit, and then 2 dogs again. No, the old one's never gonna die. So I just have 3 dogs.
Sorry, Kevin, I'm already digging his grave. All right. Because that is literally my mentality. And in my kitchen, when we designed my kitchen, we renovated this house that we live in. We took a cabinet and we inverted it. So the doors are on the top and the drawers on the bottom, and we flipped the drawer over and put the dog bowls in there. So Vance, my husband's like, well, we only have 2 dog bowls. What are we going to do if we get a 3rd dog in the meantime? All right, we have so gone left turn. See, we're besties. All right. The first A in badass is for advice. You've given us excellent advice, but what was the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So it was January 2021, that point where I kind of had 11 doors I bought the wrong way, and I was about to take off scaling. And the piece of advice that got me there was pick something, and get good at it. And so prior to that point, I got my real estate license. I was in Airbnb. I was doing, wholesaling. That one actually stuck, but doing some wholesaling. I had the long-term rentals, but I was all over the place. And I got this advice from my mentor, and that was the year we bought 22 more doors. Yeah.
That is excellent advice. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Okay, so this is my truthful, honest answer. Up until very recently,
I love that you have to preface.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe some people can relate to this, but it's not a pretty answer. And
Okay.
up until recently, the answer truthfully was fear, was having a better life than my parents, who obviously I love dearly, but they struggled. They worked very hard for someone else. It was not just, and I just knew very early it wasn't the life I wanted. So I'm like this little hamster, like, how do I can't end up living this life. And so I was very fear driven to like buy, save. I'm reading, Die with Zero. That's a bit of mindset shift. But overall, I'm moving into, like, my needs are met, my family's needs are met. I'm moving up the pyramid of the hierarchy of needs, and really getting finally to the point of like, what can I do for others? So we volunteer our time. I invest a whole lot in, I have an employee on the education side. I have an employee on the rental side. How can I help them the most? What can I do to bring up others with me? So I'm really just getting to that point. Even with 70 doors, you think that probably should have happened a long time ago, but it didn't, because I've just been so just driven to not have that same life.
Wow.
Yeah. I know it's a little deep and dark, but it's the truth.
That hit me one. Cause I get it. Growing up, we always had food on the table. We lived comfortably, but I wanted to make a totally different life for myself as
Totally
well.
different.
So, yes. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
So a goal that I'm currently working on, I want to get, and this is, I know we talked about pick one thing and stick to it. My advice on that is pick a thing, stick to it until you get really good at it and it's systematized, and then you get to go off and do fun stuff. So I am looking into some new builds currently, which I need to
Ooh.
pick your brain on. A dream would be like a boutique hotel. That's on the list. Yeah, I know it's probably a lot of people's dream. That one is on the list. And just maybe like most of the portfolio is single family. We have a couple small apartment buildings, but I'm looking maybe, 20, 25, 30 units.
Wow, very, very cool. And I do not want a boutique hotel. I want to build a micro resort. I just like saying that word, but it's basically a tiny home
A
village.
concept. Yeah, yeah,
It's exactly the same concept. Do you
yeah.
have a lot of short-term rentals?
We don't. I've dabbled. I've done some midterm, but I'm not a short-term girl. I mean, I have hospitality in the relationship building with our residents, but I just do not have that hospitality mindset. Whenever we do the hotel, I'm gonna have to turn over operations to someone else because it's not me. I'm like, you're out of toilet paper, like get over it.
Or like the one guest who says, the dog barked next door. I would like a refund, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Dealing
I don't
with
have that in me. So I admire the short-term investors out there, but it's not for me.
All right. Well, you had mentioned this when we were talking about aspiration, and systems is the first S in badass. So what systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
So inside of our mastermind, we have a resource. It's called the Resource Vault. And I find myself going to the Resource Vault is probably as much as students do. And it's because it is every single document, every checklist, everything that you need, basically in chronological order of the Burr method. And so my system is the organization. And I know that maybe isn't the most like
No, that's,
concise answer,
yeah.
but you have to like you can have all the systems in the world, but if they're not outlined in a very, very specific way where you can find them, where other people can find them, then they're practically useless. And so I would say one of our best skill sets is just the organization of all of it together.
And what I also like about you is that you systematize when you get, like you said, you get really good at a niche, like a very specific niche, and then you systematize it and then you move on to the next one. So I love that. And you do have to absolutely stay organized. But one of my systems is my morning routine. And people kind of laugh at that, but no, that is an absolute system. If I miss that system in the morning, my day is done. So I do not poo-poo anything that you say there. So Jessie, my new best friend, we could do this all day long, but the final S in badass is success. What does success mean to you?
Success to me, and I really am just getting, I'm telling you, maybe a year into getting out of like the fear driven, like buy, to actually like enjoying what we worked for. So, this success is pretty new, but it is time freedom. It is traveling when and where I want to and not answering to anyone. It is giving back to others, giving back. We do a lot in the animal community. Yeah, we have some foster babies. We've had like 25 foster cats or so. Never at once, but like that would be crazy. In the past couple of years, we've had 25 or so cats through the house who've gotten adopted. So that my time and my money to be spent on things that I like, and that's not a foreign concept. That's why we all want to work for ourselves and to be successful.
Absolutely. And die with zero.
And I was zero. Yeah, you got to give
Yes.
it back. And
Absolutely.
if you're listening and you're like, well, I don't want to die with zero because I want to give to my children, the book says, give them the money before you die.
Ah,
And you can watch them enjoy it.
that is 1,000 times better. Oh, Jessie,
1,000 times better.
I did not think I could like you anymore. So we are going to have to connect very soon and hang out. And I know you don't drink because this is my 250th episode. And I said, we're going to have to drink champagne. And you're like, oh, I don't
Sorry,
drink.
I'm
like,
a downer. I got the water.
I got my water too, girl. So I am so ready for it. But Jessie, one more time, how do people find you? How do they join your mastermind? How do they get your book? Tell us everything one more time.
Yes, ma'am. So the book Rentals Made Easy is on Amazon. The mastermind Rentals Made Easy, you can find us through our Facebook group that I've mentioned. Will be down in the show notes. And when you join, we will send you an email. You just let us know that you want some more information about that. We'll get on a quick call. And if it makes sense to work together, then we will get you all signed up and get you ready to get out there and build this business.
Well, I am so grateful you were on the show today. You were fabulous. Thank you so much for being here today, Jessie.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.